Hey everybody, it's Doug here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a new playthrough. This time it is of the recently Kickstarter release Escape the Dark Sector by Themeborne Games. Now, if you watch my channel, you know that I also have played Escape the Dark Castle, which is one of their previous games. Might be their only previous game, I'm not sure. But I did get their big box expansion thing for that, and I absolutely love Escape the Dark Castle. It's a great, simple, fun storytelling game that the family can get into. It doesn't have too many heavy decisions, though this one has a few more, which makes it, I think, very interesting. But we're going to get going. We're going to play a two-player or solo game, which requires you to have two characters, or suggests you have two characters. And we're going to do that. And so this will be spoiler-filled because in this video, not so much because we're just going to be doing this setup. Although I will show some of the cards, but it's not really that spoilery because every game you have a pretty big stack of cards. It's all going to be very different throughout the game, but this will get you set up on how to play. And as you can see, I have the player mat and the sleeved cards. I don't know if you can tell they're sleeved, but they are. They're sleeved for the game. And this playmat actually helps quite a bit as we set up the mission deck. You can see all the different kinds of dice that are there. Plus, we also have our character dice. We'll get into that in a minute. But I also, as part of the Kickstarter, should be getting, I just think they haven't come yet, are the player mats that are actual mats for each player. But we're not going to be doing that. It kind of lays out in a very easy to figure out way. I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about our characters. But right now, I think I'll talk about a couple things that are different. So one thing that's different is there's more actions you can take. Now, unlike Escape the Dark Castle, this one is a science fiction theme-based one. It plays very similar, except there are decks that there's a level, like Act 1, Act 2 to Act 3 set of decks that make it different. There's items that make it different. There's also ranged combat, which is very different. And we start with a cybernetic thing, which is kind of cool. I think it's quite different in simple ways, but nothing in a majorly dramatic way. It plays a lot the same. Though the range combat and range weapons with ammo and everything, I think, is a very cool and welcome addition. So we'll be looking at that. But the fundamentals of having a character, with that character having a very specific die, and you're going from you're leading into a room, going from person to card, is still in existence, just like it is in Escape the Dark Castle. Taking a look at the first character, and there are several others in the game. I think there's, let me see, there's 6 total. Yeah, because here's the 4 others right here. There are 6 total. I chose Lieutenant Cook. Why? Because he's pretty good at hand-to-hand combat, a little good at the other thing, which I think is perception or wisdom. I don't remember. I never remember the actual names of the things, but I'm going to look it up and tell you the right things. Cunning and wisdom, that's right. So it is not might. I think it might be might, but yeah, it's might, cunning, and wisdom. Okay, you can see him right here. Okay, and that's what he's good at. Now, one thing that's different that sets your characters apart, makes them a little different aside from their main die, and you see that this die has his name on it, and it's geared toward him. But otherwise, it works very similar to the dice in Escape the Dark Castle. They get a cybernetic implant. Just see that chip in their head right there. This is what's inserted into it. So in the case of this character, we have a combat protocol implant. It says once per round of close combat, meaning might usually, you may re-roll your crew die and choose which results to apply. Your crew die is this. Okay. All right. And then we also have this thing called a medical record. It's similar to the tracking sheet, but it goes up and down kind of like a heart monitor, which I think is pretty cool. And then this space here is for our inventory, and it's important to keep that space because you can have 4 cards in inventory, but there's some that are bigger and you turn them sideways and they take up 2 slots, so it could limit the amount of inventory you have. So that's Lieutenant Cook, and as you can see, his die has a double fist on it with a shield, a couple more fists. He's mainly, as it shows, quite heavily in combat, a little bit in cunning, and barely anything in wisdom. So we're going to be a little wisdom light because the other character I chose is Lieutenant Taylor. Lieutenant Taylor is not good at all in hand-to-hand combat, but pretty darn good at cunning and not bad at wisdom. So we're going to be struggling in this with a 2-player game because I know this game can sometimes, it's the wrong card combinations get you. Her implant is advanced targeting. It says once per round of range combat, you may re-roll your ammo dice, applying only the second result. That means we can get the chance of better hits. I don't know if these are the ones you can take, the best ones to take. There are several others but those are the ones that I picked. So that gives you a little more variety than the starting game of Escape the Dark Castle. But let's get into it. We're going to set up our deck now, and I saved that for this session, so we'll set it up. We probably won't play any of the game this time around. We'll just get it set up and ready to go. I already have the item deck set up and gave it a pretty good shuffle, but we'll just do a little bit more of that. This is the item deck that we'll be using. There's also some starting items, which we'll probably launch at the end of this game. We'll probably get those. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to place down a boss card. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this game, right? Yeah, 5. And I'm not going to even show you what they are. I'm just going to tell you that this is bad, right? Very bad. This is the bad guy that we'll have to face to escape the dark sector, okay? So we're going to shuffle that up. We're just going to put that at the bottom of the mission deck right there. The rest of these are going to go back into the box, but right now I'm just going to stack them up onto the side. We don't need them for the moment, so I'm just going to stack them up and keep them there. Okay, next up, we're going to take this deck of level 3 cards. And these, as you can see, the level 3 by the 3 blips on the radar, kind of like in Aliens or something like that. We're going to shuffle these up a little bit, even though I did already shuffle them up. We're going to shuffle those up, and we're going to put 1, 2, this is for a normal game, 2, 3, and 4. As you can see, we still have quite a few left. So I'm just going to put those aside as well. I think I'll just keep them where they were. It's not going to hurt anything. And then we're going to do the same thing with these second act cards. And these got to go in this order because we're going, obviously, Act 1, 2, and 3, right? So we'll shuffle these up a bit and draw 4. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is going to give us a good, healthy variety. And then we're going to do the same thing with the level 1s. Okay. And we'll get those out. Okay. And then we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And that will be the main part of our deck. There's only one more card to add, and that is going to be our starting location cards. So I'm just going to stack these up a little nicer. With the sleeves, they tend to slide a little bit more, which is interesting. And then we have these 3 turnover to begin cards. These are again, they're slightly different, so we'll see which one we get. We'll just take this one, and we'll put it on top there. And that is our deck setup. Okay, before we finish this, I want to talk about some other, when we get into, as I said, there's two ways you can fight now. There's range combat and close combat. So you go into range combat, usually dictated or predicated by the monster you're fighting. If for some reason nobody chooses an attack action or shoot action in a range combat, then you immediately go into close combat, and you can't go back. That's it. You also have in both close combat and range combat, you have this new ability to flank, which is cool. Kind of burns your turn. You place your dice here, and you don't get to do anything that round, and somebody else has to be taking a shoot action, otherwise you can't flank, and I think it says here. But in the next flank round, you must make an attack. Now the cool part about that is the enemy doesn't get to attack you back. You've outsmarted them and flanked them. The thing is, once you've done that, it's not available for that encounter any longer, so you can only get flanked once. Or you can only flank the enemy once. And then we also have this one is up all the time. You don't actually, it does recharge, but it says at the end of the chapter, turns card over. You can place this die here to heal a hit point. So that's a couple things that are different. And then you also see these dice here. These are hit dice. When you're in combat, you're going to roll one of these dice along with your own ammo attacks. And you can get hit, and I think they're just single hits on here. I thought there was one that was a critical hit where you take 2, but I think you just take the damage. That might be on our dice. Anyway, there's 3 types of ammo dice too. There's this bullets, and then there's, I think it's concussion or I don't know, kinetic or whatever. I'm gonna look them up just to tell you, but the basic thing is bullets, energy, and whatever the other one. So let me go to the ranged combat. It's ballistic, energy, and explosive. So this is the energy one. Right here, see, that is a critical hit. Okay. And then you got the explosion. That's cool, right? And then you got the ballistic. And we'll see how that plays out as we go, as the game progresses. So that's basically the setup. Now we're going to do one more thing in this. We're going to turn over our first card and get going. And then in future episodes, also I had it on a dot here, but everybody starts in a normal game with 12 hit points. And you're supposed to name them, put your name on it, Lieutenant Cook, but we know what we're doing here. All right, so we're going to flip over the first card and we're going to take a look at it. So what does it say? There's the cool, all the artwork on this is black and white, which I actually love. It's thematic and different, makes it feel different. I'm sure it also reduced some of the costs on the game, but I don't know, maybe it didn't. All right, here's the beginning. Overriding the security protocol of the holding cells was no easy task, but now real danger lurks at every turn. You dart from your cell to the control room opposite. There, a map of the station flickers faintly on a faulty monitor. You frantically search for the location of your ship. Remove one Act 3 chapter card from the mission deck without looking at it. Okay, the map vanishes, replaced by an urgent transmission addressing all members of security. They have orders to eliminate you. You each grab a sidearm from the rack before you're setting off at speed. So let's do that. We're going to take this out and we're going to go into the Act 3s, which are at the bottom, and we'll just take this one out at random and it's gone. Okay, so it got just slightly easier for us in this. Whatever this one does, they're all a little different. And then it says, again, the map vanished, but we get to take a sidearm. Draw a starting weapon card for each member of the crew, then turn the first chapter card. Okay, we're not going to turn the first chapter card today, but these are the starting sidearm weapons, right, that we're going to get into our inventory. So, for Lieutenant Cook, we're going to get a ray gun. So he's got the energy die. Now, they always come fully loaded, and how they're loaded is based on the fire rate. So this only fires one. So we're going to take an energy die, and we're going to place it on that card. That is the ammo that it has, and it's sitting in our inventory. And then we got one for Lieutenant Taylor, who's actually our range specialist. Slug pistol. Okay, now see, this one still has a fire rate of 1, so it's not that big a deal. It's just that's the fire rate. You can see it tells you what each of the dice do. This is the critical hit is 2 hits. But again, both these are starting sidearms, starting weapons, so they're not going to be that great. Anyway, we're going to take a ballistic die and put it on there. That is our ammo. And that's it for those. Now, what was the other 2 that we had? We had a ray gun and another slug pistol. So those are the ones that we get to start with. The rest we're going to have to find. Okay, that is the setup. And we're ready to go and escape the dark sector. Now, in this case, we know the security is bearing down on us. We have to get to our ship and get out off of this station. And that's what we're going to try to do. So, I hope you enjoy it. Join me on this. It's going to be a lot of fun. It won't be a very long game, I don't think. Maybe a couple episodes long. And hopefully we do well enough at it that you get to see what the game's like and enjoy it. I don't foresee me making a lot of errors with this one. I've played a bunch of Escape the Dark Castle, and this is very, very similar except for a couple of things. So we'll play it out and see how it goes. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll talk to you in the next episode, which will be our first episode of gameplay. Take care, and I'll see you then.